Welcome back to the House of Legends podcast, where great women become exceptional. I am your host, Graciela, and in today's episode, we have an amazing guest, Lindsay. Have to share like this experience when I met her back in New York. I was actually sharing with her before we press record that I saw this woman, like we were in a penthouse, by the way, and I felt attracted to her. Like her energy is so magnetic, and I was like, I have to say something to her. And I think we have a small conversation right there. But after a few months, now more than a year, that I've been seeing her live work, and it's just like we have to have a conversation. So Lindsay, she's a powerful leader. She's also a guide, a natural teacher, being a projector. She's helping us to expand our consciousness. I think that is the key for every single change, every single thing. And that is also part of the work that I get to do, but she goes way deeper. She has her own magic, I will say, right? But with that being said, Lindsay, if you can introduce yourself, let us know who you are and what got you here.
Yes, thanks, Graciela. And I'm so glad to be here too. And it's so funny thinking about how long it's been since we were standing there in New York, right? Like time flies, it flies.
Yeah.
It's so good. So I'm really excited for us to chat today. So I'm Lindsay, and I am a spiritual guide, a spiritual mentor, really spiritual psychology coaching, consciousness, because for me, as also in human design, I'm a mental projector. It's just all about the root of things, right? It's all about getting to the cause, getting to the core, and helping people to see that. And so my whole mission here is just helping all of us individually and collectively really remember and reclaim how powerful we are, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to get caught up in life and feel like we're not powerful,
Mhm.
right? And feel like there's so many things we can't control.
Yeah.
And so it's really about reclaiming that within ourselves. Yeah. And that's just the work that lights me up and excites me and just fulfills me and makes me feel like I'm really, living what I'm here to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love for you to be in a projector is that you can see beyond. You
Yeah.
don't see what it is. I mean, you can see beyond. Really, you see beyond. If I come to you and it's like, I'm just telling you what it is, like, no, I see beyond. You see possibilities in people. And that is a truly amazing gift, a gift.
Yeah.
And as we were sharing as well, that I'm a manifestor. So for me, my best mentors will have been projectors and reflectors, because they're the projectors projector are helping me, are guiding me, are teaching me, and the reflector reflecting what is inside, right? So having a woman like you is just really amazing. But I would love to ask you, Lindsay, because now, like I was mentioned to you, we can see, we can go to social media, we can see your presence, but I would love to know when this start, this curiosity about like getting to the root and
Yeah.
yeah,
When I would have to say, like, it has been a lifelong, and that's why I love human design, because so I have had this lifelong thing and this lifelong like frustration, and people either love me or they hate me, right? Like people
same
either
here.
are
Yeah.
right or they want to run away. And that's the nature of being a projector, because when someone meets me, if they don't want to be seen or they don't want to be penetrated, they will not like me. They will have an aversion to me, right?
I
So
love that word.
so all my life I went through it like, God, like, the whole I'm too much, right? Like so many
Yeah.
have the I'm too much anyway. So I really had that because I would feel that people were like having an aversion to me and I didn't understand why. So I
Yeah.
was always very, very, very also like I would just tell people what I saw, right? And I would tell people the root of the problem. And not everybody wants to hear it. Not everybody is ready to,
Yeah.
they want that information. So I have always been driven by this like need to like, okay, I'm a problem solver, right? I see the problem. Like, why else do I see it?
It's
So
so
it
God.
wasn't until like in my early 30s I had a really big spiritual awakening after a lot of struggles with like anxiety and depression and
Mhm.
addiction. And that was when I really started to kind of open up to this higher realm of like consciousness and spirituality and being the creator of our reality. And that's where it really started to drop in for me, because then when I started to explore all of that, all of a sudden I had this context for like, what I had been seeing and what I had been feeling, and all of the things that had been driving me through my life. So that, and I mean, I'm 44 now, so that was like a good 12 years ago that it really started. And then of
Yeah.
course, like about 5 years ago when I started coaching and actually started realizing like, oh, I can take these gifts and use them and have a business and actually make an impact. That was when I really started to then like funnel it into like a more structured and serious, way of continuing to develop myself and learn this stuff, and all the trainings and certifications and the things that we do
Yeah.
that make us better at the work we're here to do. Yeah, so it's been like definitely a lifelong journey.
Oh, I mean, but I would love for you, if you, of course, if you allow me, let's go a little bit back to you mentioned in your early 30s that was something that happened. Well, if you can just share a little bit deeper, what was that moment? For every single one of us, we had that moment, that a decision that literally shifted the direction of everything. What was that for you?
Yes, and I'm an open book. I don't care. Like I share all the things.
Let's go. So, and by the way, I love this vibe because I do have the same energy as you. Well, I'm a manifestor, but either people love me or like fuck you, like repel me. Really, I'm telling you, like it's
Yeah.
like yeah, like it was like, well, at first I was like, oh my gosh, and then the people please or whatever, right? But at one point, I was like, I have to own it, whatever. It's like a beautiful filter, amazing. Like if you don't like me, okay, awesome. So, that's why we vibe. Anywho, if you can share
Totally,
with.
totally. Yeah, happily. So, like I was saying, in my 20s, I really struggled with drugs, alcohol. I was so when I was a kid, I had like insane anxiety. And people that talk to me now are always like, no way, right? They
Yeah,
can't
I mean, I was
be
like,
it. I'm just scared. I'm like, ah, and everybody's like, you're not anxious. Like, what? But I had even like to the point of panic attacks. But what happened was, as a kid, I then like sort of developed this like this shield persona, if you will, right? Like I developed this facade of like, I don't care.
factor. Yeah.
And it was totally fake because I did care. And on the inside, I was panicking. But on the outside, everybody thought, oh, yeah, like she's good, right? Like she's got it all together. And I didn't. So as I then, grew up and I started really getting into like a lot of partying and drugs and alcohol, it was like those substances gave me the buffer that
Mm,
I needed, that allowed me to like exist and sort of function. But then I stopped really being able to function, right? Like as I went through my 20s and the more money I made, I was like bartending, waiting tables, the more money I made, the worse my addictions got. And that all spiraled really, really, really bad in my late 20s, to the point where I was like strung out and I
yeah.
couldn't work, and I was like off the deep end into my addiction. And then so after a few years of that, which I don't know how many times in those years, like I thought, should I just kill myself?
Oh my God.
Because I was just, I felt like, how could somebody, because I knew that I was strong and I knew that I was like stubborn, but I was like, how can I not stop this? Right. Like I didn't understand. So through all that descent into like the suffering, then I had this moment in my early 30s where I landed in a detox. And it was after a long stretch of like coming really close to just ending it for myself. I was in that detox and I went to a rehab, and I just like literally on my knees, like surrendering, and at that point I was still kind of confused, like what I thought spiritually, I was like, I don't like religion, I don't know about God, I don't know about all these things. But I had this literal moment of like on my knees surrender, where I was just like, look, whatever is out there, it has to know better than me.
Yeah.
And I am just done trying to fight my way through life. That's what it was like. I was done trying to fight my way. And that was like the moment that I had a very like real
I
shift
wasn't.
in my consciousness. Yeah, it was like all of a sudden I changed, and I completed that rehab, and I moved out and I started getting my life together. And it was like I was this completely different person
Mm.
through this like higher spiritual connection, and the more that I explored that and I got into more and more spiritual practices, meditation, yoga, breath work, and all these things, the more I started to really just open up and recognize like, heck yeah, there are powers greater than we are, and
Wow.
that we are connected to them and we always have access to them. So, and when that happened, it was like I kind of knew, okay, I'm going to use all this to help people, but at that point I didn't know it would
How
get to where like we are now. I never would have imagined we would have been standing in New York having that conversation in
a
that
penthouse,
house, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? This is one of the things that, and thank you so much for sharing, because right now, when I see you on social media, it's like, no way. I mean, how come? I mean, it's like you're talking about a different total person, you know what I mean? And I think those moments, like you said, there's one moment or another that we just surrender. And I think when we surrender, we open up and we let that higher consciousness, you name it, God, universal source, I call it God, just coming in with ideas, and we feel like we see possibilities, we see options, when before it was just like you said, like just destruction pretty much for in ourselves, right? And I will. So after you said that after you move through from that state, you start moving in your life. How how the idea of the business came to you?
Yeah.
How was it like? Because when we were start working in ourselves, like we have all the tools, like you said, mindset, or breath work, somatics. We just gather a lot and we start feeling good and we want to just share with every single one. But that is one of the things that happened for me. Like I was trying to sharing and people's like, well, like what are you losing? Like really, like, but now I understand that there's people that are not ready to receive, and that's okay. But I was just like trying to like be the saver, and I think we all happen for that moment. But I would love to know your experience.
I love that too. I totally had chills when you were saying it too about
Saver, right? Like,
letting spirit in. So I was notorious. Okay, so being a projector, you have to know, right? I see everybody's problems, so of course I want them, right? So when the first few years of after that, like I got sober, I had that awakening, I was doing all my stuff.
yeah.
I was like the weird girl that everybody that I knew. So I had like these friends, from my rehab that I got sober with. I had a new job that I was doing, and I would go there. And it's like to everybody, I was like that weird person that was like off the deep end, into the meditation and into the breath work and always talking about God and spirit and just walking around with like sparkles in my eyes because I was so lit up by it. And same thing, I was constantly trying to like rescue everybody
Yeah.
and constantly trying to, and it's a double-edged sword for a
Oh,
projector.
yeah,
I
yes.
didn't know this when I was back then. I didn't know about being a projector. So I didn't understand that the more I tried to like just like you're a
Yeah.
manifestor, right? So you can inform, you can initiate, you can go do the thing. If I try to do that, people are like, no, right?
Like, no.
So I had a lot of bitterness as well. So there was like a lot of stuff for me to learn how to navigate and start to like really recognize. And that was where I started to say, okay, I don't have to like try to give this to everybody. I don't have to try to talk to my family. I don't need my family's
My,
approval,
yeah,
right? They can think
yeah,
I'm crazy. That's fine. And that was where actually I started off just being a blogger, like back in the early, so it was like, no, it was like 2000, probably 15. I started blogging because blogging was still a thing. And I was blogging for Elephant Journal, which is like an online magazine that has like a big spiritual following. So I was like, cool, like I'll just do this. And it just sort of like snowballed from there, where I
wow.
started realizing like, wow, I'm really good at writing and I'm really good at talking to people and creating content. And I just started doing that and I started making videos. And that's where like the seed got planted of like, okay, I can actually become a coach and a guide and take
Copy.
people through some of these processes. Yeah. And from there it was the
Mm,
journey.
I
Then
inform.
learning how to be a business owner.
I love that because that is your nature, like being a teacher and guide. I mean, even right now having this conversation is like I'm light up, like you're guiding me. I'm attracted to you. But if another manifestor comes to me and is like telling me what to do, it's like fuck you, like. But if you like you have this gift for that I can feel right away that, oh God, I want to be guided by her. I want to learn from her, right?
I love
And
that.
we feel that too. But it's just really amazing when we start understanding who we are,
Yeah.
that the energetic part as well, and also to that is also leading us to the right people, to the right opportunities, right?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
The
I
amount
think
of times we can chase the wrong, like the incorrect opportunities, because we think it needs to look a certain way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when you said chasing, yes, and especially here when we started our first years on business, like we try to offer to every single one, and it's like, and we see the gap or something, and we want to try to tell them, it's like, what the hell, like, I mean, for me, it's like my energy is like either repelling or attracting, and when I repel people, I'm telling you, I'm repelling people like sending me messages like, what the fuck, like, come on, just I don't even reply anymore, it's like just block them, right? But it's just right, like a good fucking, I block you and that's it. I don't want to see you
Like
anymore.
I used to try to get them all, like, let me try to argue and let me try to convince you and let me try to show you and explain myself. No more. Block,
No.
delete, buy, like, and that for you as a manifester too, like manifestors also, but like manifestors and projectors are the two that, like, yes, people are either going to be
Attract.
attracted to us or like no, for different
Oh,
reasons, but
yeah.
manifestors too, like you guys will repel, because if people aren't in line with what you're here to do, then you ain't got the time and energy for them.
Oh, yeah, and it's so draining. I mean, and you can also share a little bit this. It's so draining to even to
Yeah.
motivate people or attracting them, and they say yes to you, and it's like, fuck, like 6 months or 3 months, and with unaligned client is like it's like a torture. I'm telling you, and because also we don't have this energy like a generator like 24/7. I'm not saying 24/7, right? There's some many misunderstandings about that, but I have that energy like to be on 24/7, right? So I would
You
love to
can't.
know for you, how do you manage your energy? How do you manage your having a business and being a projector? There's so many like misguidance about that, but I would love to know, how do you manage your, now that we're talking about energy, how do you manage that, and how do you manage your standards as well when it comes to business? Because
Yeah.
you have a mission, you have a strong message to share, but how you approach us that sense of standards, boundaries, and when it comes to energy and when it comes to help people.
Yeah, I love that question, because as projectors really are managers of energy. That's what we do.
Oh
You know,
God, I love it. I love that. Own it.
for most of us, I know for me, like when I was first learning about it, I didn't know how to manage the energy because I was all caught up in all of these other like rules and this is the way it has to be. And I was modeling myself on other people that I saw out there who were generators or manifesting generators that like work in a very different way to
I
me.
faced. Yeah.
And so I had to really recognize, okay, first of all, for me, one of the big things was, this is where I really love human design, because I feel like human design will show each one of us individually exactly how we are designed to be managing energy and interacting with energy. And once I started to understand that as a projector, I started to realize that all of these things that I thought I had to like mentally and consciously be like involved in, I didn't. There was all these things that like I didn't even need to be doing or having in my business.
Yeah.
And when I
Can you
started,
mention some examples?
so what?
Can you mention some examples of that?
Yeah, like really like fancy kind of like infrastructure, like funnels, like pre sort of like automated emails and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like I use some of that stuff,
Yeah.
but the capacity that I was trying to use it on, like trying to be on every single platform,
Yeah.
trying to have all of these like courses for every single price range. It's like, because every single thing for me as a projector, every single thing I offer has my energy in it, right? And it's being managed energetically by me. So if I'm still out there trying to sell things or give things or offer things that are no longer
In
correct for
alignment.
my energy, oh my God. Like you were saying, right? Like if we take on a misaligned client,
It's
it's like
like,
almost painful to
yeah,
then have to work through that. So the biggest overarching thing that I did to be able to manage the energy was in my consciousness, because the more I started to truly embody like God consciousness, abundance, prosperity, I started to see so much of business is rooted in scarcity and
mm,
competition and
yeah,
like, oh, I have to keep up, right? And like the consumerism. And I'm like, I am not here for that. So the more that I expanded in my consciousness, the more I began to understand, like, I don't have to follow all these rules.
yeah.
And I don't have to say yes to everybody. And I cannot reply to somebody, all these little things. Like you were saying too, I can just block somebody. I don't have to give a justification.
Like, yeah, and I love that. I love that. And I think you mentioned some specific things right here that when we enter into the industry, let's say we have a coach or business mentor, you name it, and or we see the structure, or we see other people doing amazing things in a certain way, and we try to, I'm not saying mimic or copy, I will say with our own flavor, have the same pace as them, and it's not sustainable. We become resentful, or the bitterness come because it's not what we're meant to do. Like we are meant to express our gifts in that different way. And I think one of the things that I learned in the hard way, it was that, like, understanding me, what works for me, what works for you, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because what, when we really understand that, and we really understand what we bring, and we have the identity of like, my work has value, I have value, and we own the success within it, then it doesn't matter. You could follow any strategy and it'll work. But if you're trying to follow the strategy and all the systems and the steps without the like identity, then none of them are going to work.
That's so true. I would love for you, I would love your point of view. I was having a conversation yesterday and this topic came and I was like, this is also coming here, it's so relatable. When it comes to pricing, when it comes to, like you mentioned here, I was trying to be in every single like price range, right? Like I don't know,
Like,
like I don't know, $100, whatever, $1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. What do you think about that? I was having the conversation yesterday, and I mentioned to this person, I was like, for me, I used to see like what is the other people are doing, and now I'm not doing that anymore. It's like, fuck it, for me, it feels like align and right 5K, and I know that I can back it up. That I don't care, you
right,
know. And I did have to, like you said, embody that person. Like, don't give a damn about how I sound. Don't give a damn about if I have 2, 3 years in the industry, 5 years. Don't give a damn about so many things that I was just telling to myself. No one, I was seeing the exterior reflecting that because I was embody that insecure woman. You know what I mean? But once I decide, fuck off, I just have to work on myself and start understanding that my work, my lab work is valuable. What I offer is amazing, but I did have to embody that. So, continuing this, I would love for you to share your point of view on this one. So, how do you decide your prices? How do you also decide back then just to not be in all over having 10,000 programs, having 10,000 things?
yeah, totally. So that's been a journey
Oh,
too. Every single thing about it's been such a journey. So having I remember a point in my business, probably about
yeah.
4 years ago now, where I was working with a coach, and I had these packages and stuff that I was selling. And I think at that point I was like, you could work with me for 2 months and it was like $2,000, right? And I remember
Yeah.
launching this mastermind while I was working with this coach, and she sort of encouraged and pushed me to like raise my prices. And I sort of got swayed right into like trying to sell this mastermind that I was launching for like 10 grand. Cause she was like very upper level pricing. Like she was a very high level coach, all of that. And I thought, yeah, like I'm all swept up in her energy, right? Like I can do that anyway. So then I'm trying to sell this dang mastermind, and it's not selling, right? And then what happens is I then spiral into like self-doubt and questioning myself, right? And this here I am being coached by someone who's like never doubted herself. So she's not able to, right? And I'm comparing myself to her. And it was just so different. Like we were just so different. So then I had stepped away from that, and I had continued for a while trying to like push myself into this box of like I have to be this like high level, high priced coach. Oh my god, like my transformation is so valuable, right? And on one level I knew that my guidance created really big transformation, but in the core of my being, I didn't yet understand how valuable it was. So it was like trying to raise my prices. It was almost like trying to prove myself, and it didn't work,
Yeah.
right? It didn't work. So, anyways, long story short, I finally got to the place where I started pricing my stuff like what felt good and natural. And I started to notice that when my pricing was on point, whatever I was offering sold.
Mm.
And the moment I tried to like fit into somebody else's box, it didn't. Because
Mm.
I had a really big belief that like, well, if I'm selling something for, 8 grand or 10 grand, I then have to give that
More.
value. And
Yeah.
and when we don't understand the value of like what we do naturally, we then start to fall into like over giving, right? And trying to
That's
prove ourselves.
oh
And
God.
it's like on the highest level, I am not going to let myself sell out something that's going to like have me feeling like I have to prove myself. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah, I like let it all go. And I actually lowered my prices a year ago.
mm. Yeah, and I love this point of view because sometimes, like you said, we can feel or we enter into some with some in a mastermind or group, you name it, and we can feel the hype. But if we're still not
Right.
fully like, we feel the crunch, we feel the contraction in our body, and it's like, fuck off, because it's like we think, oh, if we have, like you said, this belief of like we have to do more or we have to prove, it's like our body is like, no, no, no. It's like it's like actually repelling the people, right? And when we
Right.
feel, yeah, and when we feel really connected with not only with the price, but also we feel that it's what we have, what I do have right now, it's enough. It's natural just to grab people gravitating to you because you feel that certain within yourself, right?
Right. And there was also like a lot of stuff I had to really come like look at hard with like reasonable too. And because so for me, my journey, I had like a really big journey with money too. Like I had to learn how to be with money, and I created a lot of debt for myself over investing in things, and I made a mess of things because I would get again sucked into all this hype, and yeah, like I can pay it off, right, and do this and do that. And it's like when I wasn't getting the results, it was actually and I take full responsibility for my decisions. You know what I mean? Like I'll never blame anybody for forcing me to do anything because that's not me. But it's like at the same point, I think I had this like this subconscious fear of like, look, I am never gonna pressure somebody into spending money they don't have, and
Mm.
and create and be a co-creator of like that for people. You know what I mean? So it was like, yeah.
And how do you move through that? Because I did have an experience almost like that. Where what I've been investing like in the last 5 years, like nonstop. And like you said, I take fully responsibility and I've been in debt and loans, you name it. Like I always move. But one experience specifically that came with this mentor, it was a 5-figure like investment. And it was like, but if you don't invest, you're gonna be in the same whatever fuck place in the same whatever like. And I did invest, and I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not even gonna mention her name, nothing, right? And the final of the day was like, it's not working. Shit, what is the thing? And I was just like trying to go with her, and I was like, hey, this thing is not working. How we can do this? And she actually sent me her assistant, and I was like, I feel like, what the fuck? I'm never gonna do this for somebody else. But one of the things that I did for to clean up this on my psyche, because after that experience, I have a couple months like zero dry. Let me tell you, like nothing was happening. It was like, what's going on? I'm right. I'm always like bringing clients. I'm not saying that only one-on-ones, but groups or sessions or like that. And I uncovered this belief, like I don't want to create. I don't want no one to feel the same way that I feel. But I was like, you know what? But that was my decision back then.
Yes.
And it wasn't her fault. Actually, I entered into her container, and her way of moving, expressing whatever, it was not fully aligned. I don't saw the red flag. It was not on her. It was not even on me. I
Right.
forgive myself, and I did the cleaning up thing, but it was on me. And when I did that, I will say 3 weeks after, almost 4 weeks, I saw again. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this was this thing of me, because I wasn't feeling safe. I was projecting also. Sometimes we project things because like our journey was hard, or like you said, we put ourselves in debt or decisions, but we are projecting that people, it's like people don't have to have the same thing. They can make their own decisions. And when I stopped to projecting on people, the magic started occurring, right?
It's so true. It's so true. And my experience was so similar too. And I think like, because same thing for me. I came to the point where I realized like, okay, this was my choice. All of these were my choice. And simultaneously, my standard is that I'm going to do better than that. You know what I mean? My standard is that I'm not going to use that type of marketing, because I think the marketing industry as a whole is also going through its own evolution. It
Yeah.
has traditionally been very rooted in a lot of manipulation and fear.
Painful.
And it's
Yeah.
people like us who having these experiences. Now we're going to go out and we're going to do better. We're going to create better, more empowered ways for people to buy. And I took a break. So after the last business coach where we met in New York, right? I loved working with that coach. Um, but then I took a break because I had a very successful launch when I was in the last mastermind I was part of. But when I was done with the
Yeah.
launch, I was exhausted. So I was like, okay, now I have a program to run. And I kind of took a break after that from mentors. And I said, I'm not going to
Yeah.
hire anybody for like at least 6 months. And I'm going to take everything that I have learned and I'm going to play with it and I'm going to work with it. And I'm really going to explore my design so that I can understand how I'm meant to use all of this stuff. And in that space was where, when I was like out of everybody else's energy, I started to get clearer and clearer and clearer about how I'm meant to operate, and how I'm
I
meant
love
to do
that.
business and how
Yeah.
I'm meant to sell. And the more I did that, that's when my selling and my marketing became just more and more easy because it was natural.
Yeah. I love that, because sometimes we can investments are great, like
Yes.
guidance is great, but at
Yes.
one point it's like you said, integration, like they're having those months of integrating and deeply understanding who we are, what feels right, what feels uh, like you said, after being launched or promoting something, if I feel depleted, it's like my body's telling me that this is not the way. If I don't listen, I'm gonna arrive to the point that I'm gonna hate this.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
there's a very real the integration piece that you said. Like it's so important. And there's I think sometimes this fear out there. It's like if I'm not constantly working with a coach or a mentor or in a mastermind or something, oh, then I'm gonna like I'm not gonna succeed. I'm gonna get left behind, whatever it is. And it's like I actually, when somebody completes one of my programs or
Yeah.
working with me one-on-one, I don't necessarily always want them to continue to work with me because I think they need to go have integration. And
Mm,
usually with my clients, we both feel when it's complete. And it's like, that's your sign to now go live and integrate and utilize all of this. And most people don't then need to come back to me because like the work I do is so deep. It's like
Mm.
and it's rapid because that's the nature of having a projector guide you. So I could never also create, you see like a lot of there's a lot of like people where it's like, man, people will be working with coaches for like years and years and years. And
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like if you need to work with me for 3 years, then I am not doing my job.
Well, that is an interesting point of view. Like,
You
yeah,
just
it's
don't
valid.
need like somebody have being guided by a projector should not need 3 years of me. You just shouldn't need it. Like
I love that point of view. You know what? Because like, well, and I'm not saying I'm guilty of that. I'm just participating in that. I'm in a container, and then they offer something. I usually I upgrade, right? But I see like something different. But if, like you said, it is the same thing as like, or kind of just tweaking something, I can see it. I'm just remove myself, right? But it's another point of view. I've never thought about that. I mean, I always, but thank you for opening this new way. And because sometimes we think like we have to be in the energy or constant like investing, but when we make a decision, like you said, the next 6 months I'm just gonna go on my own, and then I'm gonna be open to for brand new mentor, a new tool, you name it. Right there, we can also like utilize in the best way as well the things that we already got, you know.
yeah. Cause that's the thing. I think like there's no like one size like
Yeah.
fits all rule for it either. I think everybody needs to really the best tool we have is our own inner discernment, right? And it's like sometimes when we're caught up in all that, and that's why I always say, like, if I'm thinking about investing or moving or making that leap, I always say, okay, yep, now I'm going to go and I'm going to process this and I'm going to think about it because I want to make sure I'm not doing it from a place of hype,
Mhm.
lack, or scarcity because we all have our own inner discernment in various ways that will always tell us what's and I'm also a huge advocate like there's no wrong decision, right?
It's not, yeah, they're not.
Because
Yeah, you're always
we
learning.
learn, we learn and we grow and we expand, and it's really just about recognizing like, okay, I own all my decisions, right? I'm the sovereign. I'm not a victim of any of this. I'm creating all of it, even
Mm.
the ones that don't go the way I wanted them to.
Oh yeah, I created for me. How in the hell? And you mentioned really amazing this. Now that we're talking about decision, like some before human design, I was just like saying like, well, I'm not saying pressure, but I was buying. I used to buy this idea of like of the self development that you have to decide right now. If not, the idea is gonna go away. You're gonna kill the idea. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
right.
that is so out of alignment." There's some people, yes, of course, they can use their ego, willpower, you name it, but it's like
Yeah.
for me, it was like I do have to be in a calm, like I don't have to be in that up or down. I have to just ride
Are you
away.
an emotional
Like,
project? You're an emotional manifester?
yes, and think about it and whatever. And for me, it was like, oh, that's why when I was on my highs and I was just like making decisions from either you said from that place of love and that was working, or from place of fear, and that's why that thing didn't work, because I was just one foot on the excitement, you one foot on the fear energetically. So that's why it was really split, really, I'm telling you. So I think that is another big piece when we having a mentor that also understand human design, like
Yeah.
you can understand your clients and you can give them the space to think, to process the idea, and then come back without fear of like, she's not going to come back, she's going to ghost me or whatever. If the first of all, if they ghost us, like, or they don't come back, it wasn't the right client, that's it,
Right.
right?
Right. That's where the trust comes in, right? Like that's really where the consciousness and the trust and the abundance comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I do have in that space is, and it cost me time. I mean, it took me time and cost me also money to learn this, that like really understanding myself and all that. But if the person says no, say no to me, if forever, even for participations like this, or like, it's a protection. It didn't meant to be, and that's okay. I don't even I send a reminder second time, it's like, are you gonna do this or not? But after that is like, that's it. never. I don't insist because I know it's something, if they say no or whatever, it's like, or they don't reply that to the second
Yeah.
message.
So my favorite, like,
Rejection is protection. Yeah, I'm telling you. And when we understand that, and you mentioned one magic word, trust. When we trust ourselves, when we trust that the people that are meant to be in the world are going to be, and the people that are not going to be in the world, simple, we're not insisting for them. It's when things get to work really, really well.
yeah. And it's funny too. I was thinking about like when people don't reply or whatever, and and it just really shows us as well, like there are so many people out there who want to change but are terrified to, you know what I mean? And they're the ones where it's like you get they you kind of get their interest, and then they sort of like run away and hide again, and it's like they keep kind of doing that. And it just goes to show you like the percentage of people like us who are willing to actually move and leap and decide and do the thing even when it's scary or uncomfortable. It's like that it is a small percentage. There is a large percentage of the world that would rather stay comfortable. And sometimes, right, when we're online, it's like, yep, we inspire something in them, and then they sort of come, like maybe they're interested, and then they choose not to. And that's why it's like we really can't take it personally, because
Yeah,
it's yeah, we just got to recognize like, hey, someone's not ready. That's
that's okay.
perfect for them, and I don't have to make it about me. I don't have to take it as rejection.
Yeah, and like, and when we stop doing that, it's like no more longer chasing, no more longer trying. And it's like, no, you know where I am. I think it was last week, a woman came and she was like, I'm ready to work. And I was like, well, this is the investment. It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, you know what? Whenever you're ready, you know where I am, and that's it. I mean, I didn't just
No pressure. I'm not gonna.
no pressure. I'm not gonna downsell you. I'm not, because I know what is the, we already have a conversation, or what is the things that we need to work on this specifically. I'm not gonna give you one session for, because I want to make just an injection of money and it's not gonna work for you. You know what? Whenever you're ready, you know where I am. And she was like, she was speechless, like, that's it. I mean, and I told her, because if I try to sell you whatever shit, like, it's not gonna work out for you. You're gonna resent me. I'm not. That is not my vibe. Like, why? Because
Right.
I'm just gonna, like, I don't want to lose a client. No, whenever you're ready, just come. Like, that's it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like if you have to pressure, if you have to like
Great. Yeah.
then imagine how hard it's going to be just actually coaching somebody. You know what I mean? Like if somebody can't even make a decision, I
Yeah.
want to then coach you. That's not for me. Like there's
And also the fact as well, I used to like offer different things like, oh, you cannot do this. Well, like going to the doctors, like I see like going to a doctor, you need, like, let's say a surgery. I'm not going to give you a band-aid, It's like, fuck you. Like, why? It's not going to work out. It's like, it's just going to like hold the thing for the shit for 2 days. It's not going to work out. And then you're going to reset me, and I'm going to be not going to be true with me. So just simple. It's not the right timing, and that's okay.
I
Right.
am so on the same page with you on that. Such the same vibe.
Like, yeah, like, fuck it. No, no, no. I don't want the band-aid. You deserve the whole surgery. So
Can't do the band-aid. Yeah, no, not happening.
happening right now, but it's not happening. I'm not gonna give you 1 hour. Why? No, no, no. It's not gonna work out. Oh my God, Lindsay, this conversation, it has been really
So
amazing.
fun. I know. I have so much fun talking to you.
So much fun. It's like sometimes people say, like, you look so serious. Like, I am serious. What are you talking about? Like, I'm so serious. But I think the people that we get to attract, and the beautiful guests like you, is like, it's just a vibe. And I feel like this, it wasn't even a podcast, it was a really conversation. So just
So good. Such a good one.
yeah. Lindsay, I would love for you, before we close up our conversation or podcast here, if you can share where we can find you. Of course, I'm gonna put the details on the video. You're gonna be on YouTube, by the way. So we look so great. And also on the, of course, on the platforms on the podcast, I'm gonna put the details. But if you can share your life work, what are you doing right now, and we can find you.
Yeah, totally. So you guys can find me on all social media, but I've really been having a lot of fun on Instagram right now. And my Instagram is at iamlindscarricarte. And that's the same across all my platforms. And luckily for me, I have such a unique last name that when you search me, you'll find me. There's not too
We'll
many
find
people.
you.
There's only one, Lindsay Carricarte. So I'm there.
It's like an unique name, you know?
Yeah, I've been loving Instagram and TikTok because I've been having a really lot of fun doing videos and stuff like that. So you guys can definitely connect with me there. And right now I'm in the process of launching, a mastermind called the Matrix Detox. And it's really going to be all about this consciousness work, subconscious reprogramming, human design, and really just clearing out all of that like lower vibrational junk from our consciousness that has us operating in scarcity, lack, self-doubt, fear, and stepping into the embodiment of like your true soul purpose and living that each and every day. And that's starting later in March. So I'm super excited about that.
Exciting. By the way, I will love for you as well um to share, and this is a powerful question that I ask my guest. What is your, but at this point I already know, the listeners know, but what is your superpower, Lindsay?
My superpower, I think, is that I am just the translator of like transformation. It's that, and it's nothing I can plan, right? It's that when I am there with somebody and there is a genuine
Connection.
exchange and interaction happening, it's like I literally tap right into like, what is the thing you need to hear? What is the thing
Mhm.
that needs to be said to you right now that's going to just rock your world and change everything for you? And it's like I'm just the channel for that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I think I also love this. If I can just complete this, you are the beautiful channel, but you're like this loving, warm energy, but also it's just like no BS, direct and honest, right to the point. And I love that
Yeah,
combination. It's not like
no
sugar coating,
fucking
like
around the
I'm
bush
gonna
here.
share, no bullshit, I'm gonna tell you, but I love you.
Straight to the point because I love you. It's exactly that. You know what I mean? I have so much love for it. It's like, come on, let's just cut through this nonsense and let's all rise together.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God, it was a pleasure to have you here, Lindsay. Such a, I'm going to describe this delicious conversation, I will say. It was so fun and juicy, and oh, I love it. Thank you so much for your presence, for your energy, for all the insights, all things,
Thank you
all the
for
juicy.
having me. I'm so like just pumped and activated for the day now. So thank you, Graciela.
Thank you. And all of you listeners, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next week.